Season 2 is finally here after what felt like an eternity for new content. We're finally able to jump into Caldera and Warzone as well as Vanguard and touch base on some new things, experience new items and areas that Caldera and Warzone have to offer, among other things. So today we're breaking down everything that changed in the Season 2 update, and there's a lot. For the most part, we've already talked about Vanguard's update the other day when the patch notes went out. The only real difference from then to now is that what was seen and playable in private matches is now playable and earnable in public matches. So to avoid too much crossover, we're talking predominantly Warzone in this one, but as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like this Season 2 update? Dislike it? Love it? Hate it? Whatever the case, feel free to leave your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video though, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It greatly helps out the channel, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Warzone, Season 2, and beyond. We got a lot to talk about coming up here, so make sure you stick it on the channel, and with nearly 70% of viewers not subscribed, if you'd like to stay up to date with all things Warzone and COD related, I'd love to have you in the community. That said, let's jump into it. So let's start out with the new content, and more so focused on the seasonal stuff here at this. The Battle Pass is one of the big things that's going to be seen first and foremost. You get 2 new weapons, a new operator of Anna, a bunch of different skins, 1,300 COD points back in total, a bonus skin that's available for Wade, and all that kind of stuff that we'll see every single season introduced here at this. Now, that is available for absolutely no cost whatsoever. If you want to play through the free tiers, you still end up getting both of the new weapons here on the season if you do that, so you don't have to buy into it. But if you end up paying the basic 1,000 COD point entry, that gives you entry to the whole Battle Pass. You start at tier 1, but also available is that Battle Pass bundle for 2,400 COD points that lets you start at tier 20, or if you're on PlayStation, tier 25, and it gives you access to absolutely everything as well. So it's entirely up to you. That's introduced with this update. If you'd like to support the channel a little further and you're planning on getting the Battle Pass, you can use creator code Espresso to do so, but of course that's entirely optional. If you ever do, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support in upcoming videos, but that's the Battle Pass, the seasonal stuff, along with other seasonal things. We of course have our rank reset, so that's going to be something that brings you back down to level 1 of whatever prestige you're at. Currently right now, it seems like it glitched just the same way it did in Season 1 as well, where it showcases the Prestige 1 icon rather than the Prestige 7 if you got max Prestige last season, Prestige 6, wherever you left off from last season. So I'm assuming that will be fixed out here shortly as well. You have a new set of season challenges available for Season 2, which if you also get to level 50, you end up getting the Tank Buster blueprint as a reward. These seasonal blueprints aren't really ever anything too special. This one in particular, definitely forgettable in my opinion, but those were introduced as well. Outside of that, in terms of Warzone and in-game specific content, we can start to talk about what was added here for this. We end up seeing probably the biggest things in terms of sizing and scale is that we ended up getting 2 new points of interest throughout Caldera. Both have AI combatants that will contest you. They're supposed to be like security for these places since they're classified research and development centers here for the Nebula 5 gas and the storyline, but Factory is just north of Peak at the base of the mountain. This is something that's a little bit larger of a point of interest, has a couple of different buildings on the compound you can play around with. It has some decently good loot if you can end up landing there. Maybe uncontested, you're probably going to have some gunfights here, at least for the first couple of days while this is still a new location that people want to explore and everything. So just keep your head up whenever you end up landing here, but that's something you can check out as well. The thing that interests me a lot is the hatch bunkers, because there's a lot of cool stuff here to see with this. They're marked by the yellow circles on the TAC map, but they're really circling larger areas. So it gives you a relative idea and hint towards where these are, but once you're in that circle, that's where it comes down to you just trying to have to find it yourself. You'll be able to find those all within there, but you gotta be careful because these are one way in and one way out. But there are some cool things down there that make it worthwhile. But again, be careful because once you get in there, there are those AI combatants. So just know that you will have a gunfight probably at any point. In there, you can find things like the Nebula 5 gas, the PDS device, and other things like that. But I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but I did hear a rolling Morse code message while exploring them. After a year of no Easter eggs in Warzone, Raven, don't do this to me. Don't give me hope, please. So I'm definitely gonna be trying to figure this out here over the next couple of days. Whether it amounts to anything, who knows? Keep an eye on the channel. If it does, we'll have a video up. That said, outside of those 2 things, we have new features, a handful of really cool things, I think. The redeploy balloons were introduced here across, I believe, all modes. I jumped into Plunder to check these out, so it wasn't just Vanguard Plunder. But the redeploy balloons, honestly, I think are pretty cool. I think that this is gonna be a good addition. It's too early to tell just how much it affects the gameplay and the pacing of everything, but as somebody that's an aggressive player that likes to go for higher kills and challenge themselves to get even higher and higher, this is something that definitely I think will help close the gap on rotations. You can chase down enemies a little bit easier perhaps. You don't have to slide cancel across the field for 30 to 60 seconds. So it'll just help be a little bit more aggressive in getting from location to location. And it seems like there's a decent amount of them, so you won't really have to look too far or have too slow a time getting to them. The Nebula 5 ammo is something that was introduced here again in those hatches. It kind of acts like stopping power, but without the extra damage up front. It's something that creates a cloud of gas if you down an enemy after downing them, so it makes it harder for their teammates to revive them. So that's something to consider as well. If it's worth it, we'll have to wait and see. The PDS devices will allow you to place that down and clear the gas out. I don't know if this is going to be something you can place in the actual gas. That'd be interesting to see, but those are again found in hatches as well. The bomber plane was introduced in Vanguard Royale, but we also then see that for the season, we have this entirety of the search and deploy event, but this might be a different event than we may be used to. It's possible it's bugged and we don't see any event tab like we've seen in every seasonal launch since season 1 of Cold War, but it may also not be like it. Right now, there is no event stream or challenges listed, but you may boot up and get told that this event will last around 30 days. So what are we looking for here in this? Well, it's possible that these things are introduced here, correcting course a bit and fixing anything that should be there that isn't showing up. It's also referring to the rolling content coming in season 2. Today we got introduced to the hatches, bunkers, factory, the new Nebula 5 ammo, and PDS, but next week we'll end up seeing the armored convoys come in and roll on a static track through Caldera, and you can ambush that for loot. In 2 weeks' time, we'll end up seeing the Nebula 5 bombs that can be recovered and do actual real damage. So this stuff is kind of coming out progressively, and that's what I think that this event kind of points to as well, that we're not seeing everything granted all at once, but instead it's 30 days of being able to see this kind of stuff included in the regular gameplay fold. Outside of that, we end up having the new Caldera Clash game mode introduced. We'll have a couple of things coming throughout the season as well. We have a lot of quality of life changes, like Dead Silence now being changed to a legendary orange loot drop, so rarer and harder to find. There was a ground loot rebalancing, so you'll be able to play with different weapons for the first time in 2.5 months or so. Caldera's Peak is no longer as likely to be the final zone location. Aim assist scaling is now appropriately adjusted when stunned. Armor plating now prioritizes refilling 1 full plate of armor before refilling a partially damaged plate. That is huge if you ask me. Ascenders can now offer better usability to bail out. You can now exit with the jump button, and there's a prompt that tells you how to do that, whereas I don't think that there was before. The gas mask will no longer be auto-equipped when ADS. The animation will wait for the player to go back to hipfire before equipping, and once depleted, it will start to do damage as normal. Gas canisters can no longer be detonated with stun grenades. You can throw these now through glass windows. They're harder to pick up instead of if you're, say, trying to reload in close proximity, so you won't accidentally pick these up as much, and the kill damage zone was reduced, as well as introducing the addition of fall damage. The Gulag, there's now footsteps less audible from spectators. That is a great change, and it's stated there's more coming in season. Mantling and traversal had a sweeping pass here to this to increase the mantle height for improved verticality and navigation, as well as a little bit more ease of access here with that kind of stuff. And finally, parachutes are now going to have a couple of changes which are interesting. They ended up saying the change was made where you now have the same speed going forwards as you do side gliding, which I don't know why that was changed, but you can now pull these at a lower vertical height. You can now also pull these sooner after the infill plane, and you can cut it closer to the ground, which is definitely something nice, because if you were on, say, peak and you're coming down that hill, you might be constantly way too low to cut that chute, and therefore defenseless if you're trying to land on an enemy. That has happened to me so many times within Caldera, so great to see that changed as well. Honestly though, on the Warzone side of things, probably my favorite change and introduction we've had with Season 2 is the fact that we can now save our own custom modifications for Vanguard weaponry. This was something that was a little bit delayed in its rollout with Black Ops Cold War, but was something we've all been accustomed to since Modern Warfare in that main introduction within Warzone. So now you're able to take those custom builds you have, save them, and quickly reapply them wherever you may want to. So that was one of the biggest things that I kind of hated changing my classes, because I didn't want to have to take that extra 30 seconds or whatever to speed through and put all the same attachments on. Instead, now having the ability to just select a custom blueprint, that's something that's awesome if you ask me. So you can now do that with all your Vanguard weaponry and store up to, I think 5 custom mods here, so definitely check that out if you guys think that'll help you. User interfaces, we saw some adjustments and changes, though the one that really stands out to me and that you'll definitely notice, I think, is that we kind of have a new tint on the menu, which I don't quite like. It seems like we're back to Cold War's initial launch of having a burgundy reddish tint to everything. Just kind of makes it look ugly in the menus, but that is some of the quality of life changes and things outside of that. But when we get down to a smaller level of things in terms of more specific for, say, weapons, we actually had a lot done to weaponry. A lot of attachments were changed with this update, which we'll go into in a kind of brief overview, but talking more in depth with each individual base weapon. We saw that rifles had the adjustment to the STG, where the ADS speed was decreased to 0.26, which is down from 0.255, so a slight nerf on that. The C58 from Cold War had its recoil, deviation, and magnitude increased, so nerfs to that recoil property as well. The Volkssturmgewehr ended up having an ADS speed decrease from 2.6 down to 2.65, so slight nerfs to all three of these rifles. Maybe inconsequential, maybe something that actually does adjust your choices, but we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. As for pistols, we saw bullet velocity increase to the Klauser. The machine pistol had its mid-range damage increased, and the top break had its bullet velocity, max damage range, and mid and minimum damages increased. So buffs to those, making them a little bit more viable in the handgun category compared to other pistols. The LMGs of the DP27 had a lower torso multiplier decrease, where it's just a base of 1 now, which was down from 1.1, and the Bren had a multiplier decrease down to 1 from 1.1 on the left upper arm multiplier, lower torso multiplier, and right upper arm multiplier. So slight nerfs there as well. The M1 Garand ended up having its recoil behavior adjusted, which needs a little bit more testing. They didn't give any indication if this is from the notes good or bad, so we'll have to see how that all works out. The 3-line rifle had increases to the ADS and movement speeds, a gun bob decrease, an overall movement speed, and neck damage multiplier increase. So a buff to that. The Gorenko anti-tank rifle had an ADS speed increase to 0.66 up from 0.7. The Kar 98K is a weird one though, because it had its ADS speed decreased, but when you look at the other factors that were adjusted with different attachments and how some optics create some imbalance, the Kar actually got a weird net increase for its ADS, so it should be a little bit faster despite at its base having a decreased ADS speed. The Type 99 ended up having an ADS speed increase as well as gun bob decrease, and then submachine guns we saw the MP40 had a maximum damage range decrease and a mid damage range decrease as well, so slight nerfs to the MP40. The Type 100 got its gun kick adjusted. Again, have to see a little bit more testing to see if that's good or bad, and the Whale gun had its maximum damage range and mid damage range decreased, so slight nerfs here to that as well. So the base weapons definitely had a few things adjusted here to it that are of importance, but we saw a plethora of different attachments get changed as well, which we'll have those changes rolling on screen here for you because it's just so much that if we sit here and name off every single one, it'd become monotonous. We'd probably push the 20-minute mark on this video. Don't want to keep you guys that long. So it is something that just know that a lot of these attachments, a lot of the meta builds are going to be shaken up a little bit here, and depending on what weapon you use, it may cause you to change up an entire loadout, an entire setup for how you play. So we're going to keep you guys up to date with everything you need to know. We'll have our top 10 loadouts here very soon if you're looking for the best and most competitive loadouts here coming for Warzone Season 2, but there has been a lot of changes. So Raven seems to have been hard at work here for a lot of this stuff. I'm curious to see how it all plays out, but so far, Season 2 introduced quite a bit in terms of changes. Fingers crossed, nothing is broken. We'll have to see how that all plays out. That's not going to be something we get the full scope of any issues or anything like that until probably a day, 2-3 days after the launch here. So if you have anything, make sure you keep an eye on the Twitters for Raven. Check out their Trello board. You might be seeing some things that they know of and are aware of, but Season 2 introduced quite a lot, so that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you guys liking the changes made to Season 2 so far? Do you like the introductions in terms of the new points of interest, the new weapons? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Vanguard, Season 2, and beyond. We got you covered. We have so much stuff you guys will not want to miss, so make sure you stick it here on the channel. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.